Hi class, welcome back. Today we're going to be focusing on a new lesson, Module 5, Lesson 30, where we add a mixed number and a fraction together. So I want us to begin with the equation 2 1/8 plus 3/8. So I want you to begin by writing that in unit form. And what we want to recognize first is the difference between our whole numbers and our fractions that we have. So what I want us to do is I want us to write this equation below our unit form in word form. So what you should write is that we have 2 whole numbers and 1/8 plus 3/8. So as we can see, we have the 8s that are going to be paired together, and then the 2 wholes is going to be that whole number that represents the amount of wholes that we have. This is the amount of fraction. So by writing it down, I'm able to see that I have 2 whole numbers, and I'm going to be adding the 1/8 plus the 3/8 to see what our fractions will be when they are added together. Well, when we add 1/8 plus 3/8, we receive 4/8, giving us the whole number of 2 4/8. In word form, that would be 2 wholes with 4/8. I can show this. The key for this lesson is to not pair our mixed numbers together when we are adding. We want to make sure that our focus is to pair. Our goal is that we can see that we want to pair our fractions of 1/8 plus 3/8 together, because that is the fraction and that is the population that we are working with. So when we add these two numbers together, the mixed number and the fraction, we receive 2 4/8. There's also another way of writing 2 4/8 in simplest form, because I know if I divide 4/8 by 2 over 2, I receive 1/2, meaning that 2 4/8 slash 2 1/2 could be the answer to 2 1/8 plus 2 3/8. Here's another equation that I want us to go over, is adding the mixed number 2 1/5 plus 2/5. So let's first begin by writing this addition sentence in word form. So I can see here that I'm adding 2 wholes and 1/5 plus 2/5. So again, instead of using the whole numbers in this technique, we are focusing on adding the fractions together so we can see what our entire mixed number will be. Well, when we add 1/5 plus 2/5, we get 3/5, 3/5, meaning that my entire mixed number is going to be equal to 2 3/5. So I'm going to write that above. The key to adding these types of questions together is by focusing on those fractions. The next question I want us to add is the mixed number 6 1/3 with 1/3. So instead of writing this question in word form, we are going to show it on a number line. So we know that we are receiving at least the whole number of 6, because that is the mixed number, or that's the whole number we began with. So we're going to make our number line from 6 wholes to 7 wholes. Well, since our population is broken down into thirds, I know that I'm going to have 1/3, 2/3, and then 3/3 on my number line. The fraction we began with was 6 1/3. So we're going to put a dot right at that 1/3 mark, representing 6 1/3. Well, when we add 1/3 to it, we are going to move over one section on our number line. So we're going to put our new dot at the second third part of our number line, 6 2/3, meaning that 6 1/3 plus 1/3 is going to give us the mixed number 6 2/3. Again, in this question, our main goal was focusing on adding those fractions together to see what it could be equal to in this mixed number equation. Now I want you to focus your eyes to the right side of this page, and we're going to add the mixed number 2 1/4 with 2/4, and that's a 2/4. So what we are going to do is, with this mixed number plus fraction equation, we are going to show it again on a number line. So we know that we're going to receive at least the whole number of 2 because that is the whole number we began with. So we're going to make our number line from 2 wholes to 3 wholes. And since our population is 4, we are going to split this number line into fourths. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. So I'm going to write that below. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then 3 equals 4/4. So we began with 2 1/4. So I want to take a black dot and put that right on the 2 1/4 mark. Now we know that we are going to be skip counting over by 2/4 because that is what we are adding with. So let's take our arrows, 1/4 and 2/4. When we skip over by 2/4, we land on the 3/4 mark, showing us that when we add 2 1/4 with 2/4, we receive 2 3/4. For this question, I want us to focus on filling in the number sentence. So we are given the equation 3 5/6 plus blank equals 4. So what our goal is we need to find out how many more fractions or how many more parts of our fraction are we going to need to add in order to equal that next whole number of 4. So I want to similarly show this on a number line again. And since we are working with the whole numbers of 3 and 4, we are going to make our beginning point 3 and our end point of 4. So we know that we are working between these whole numbers. Since my fraction has the population of 6, I'm going to be splitting this number line into 6 parts. 1 6, 2 6, 3 6, 4 6, 5 6, and then finally 6 6. You can also label to show your fractions on this number line. So the key part for this is we need to know that 4, the whole number is 4, is equal to the fraction of 6 sixths. The fraction we began with is 3 5/6. So I'm going to put a black dot on that 5 6 mark. How many more 6's do I need to go up in order to equal 6 6's or the whole number of 4? Well, using our arrow, we can see that we only need to go up 1/6 more because we only have to go over one more part. So we're able to take that information from our number line and complete this addition equation, saying that 3 5/6 plus 1 6 equals 4. So I want you now to focus your eyes to the right part of this page. We are going to be working again with an addition sentence and filling in that blank. Our addition sentence states that 5 equals 4 3/8 plus blank. So we want to find out what that fraction of the blank is and how many more 8's will we need to get to the whole number of 5. Well, let's start by making our number line between 4 and 5 because those are the whole numbers that we are working with, 4 and 5. Since my fraction is 8, I'm going to be splitting my number line into 8 parts. We have 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and then 8/8. You can also take a moment to write those fractions on the number line. So I took a moment to write those fractions on our number line, and I know it's not accurate, but it is where we are working with. So we know that we have 4 3/8. So I'm going to put a black dot on that 3/8 mark, showing that we have 4 3/8. Now, since I know that our whole number of 5 is equal to the fraction 8/8, I want to see how many more 8's it'll take to get to that whole number of 5. Well, let's use our arrows to show that. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. 5 more steps and we get to the whole number of 5 or 8/8. So I can show and I can share the information from our number line and say that 4 3/8 plus 5/8 gives us the whole number of 5. So the next set of questions that we are going to be focusing on are fractions that will give us above a whole number. So we want to focus on our first question, which is going to be 6 2/4 plus 3/4. So I want us to first look at our numerators. When we have our numerators 2 and 3, we know that we're going to receive the population of 5. And our population in this fraction is 4. So what we are going to use is we are going to actually borrow from this second fraction and see how many more fourths would our original mixed number 2/4 need in order to get to the next whole number. So let's first start by breaking apart our 3/4. I'm going to draw 2 lines from our 3/4, but we're only going to fill in one for now. So our first step is we want to see how many fourths would this fraction need in order to get to 4/4. Well, we need 2/4 more because 2 plus 2 equals 4. So I'm going to take away 2/4 from our 3/4, giving us now the set of 6 2/4 plus 2/4. So let's take those two numbers or two fractions and add them together. Well, 6 2/4 plus 2/4 gives us 6 4/4. I know that 4/4 equals a whole number, so 6 4/4 is actually going to equal the whole number of 7. So now that I have the whole number of 7, I'm going to add that with the remainder of what 3/4 has when 2/4 was taken away from it. Well, when 2/4 are taken away from 3/4, I'm left over with 1/4. Meaning that I'm going to add 1/4 with my whole number of 7, giving us the sum of 7 1/4. I'm able to take this sum and add it back to our original equation, which says 6 2/4 plus 3/4 equals 7 1/4. So the main goal in these questions that you see is we notice that our numerators would give us above the population, so we need to use a number bond and borrow and then add that leftover in order to receive our new equation or our sum of the equation. I want you to focus your eyes to the right side of this page and we're going to do a similar question. So what you may notice in this question, just like our previous one, is that our numerators are going to be equal when added to above our population of 3. So what we want to do is we want to use a number bond and borrow from the 2/3 so we can get a whole number on this left side. So let's look at 2/3. How many more thirds will I need in order to receive 3/3 on our left side? Well, 2/3 plus 1/3 equals 3/3. So I know that all I have to borrow is 1/3. Now let's take these two fractions and add them together. 3 2/3 plus 1/3 gives me the new mixed number of 3 3/3. I know that 3/3 is equal to a whole number, so my whole number is actually going to be 4 because it's basically adding 4 plus 1 whole. So now that I have our new whole number of 4, I'm able to add that with the leftover of our number bond. Since I took 1/3 away from our 2/3, I still have 1/3 remaining because 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. So now I'm going to add that 1/3 with our whole number of 4, giving us the new mixed number 4 1/3. I can take that information and rewrite it at the top, showing that 3 2/3 plus 2/3 gives us 4 1/3. So again, with this equation, we're going to be working with a number bond because we can see that 4 plus 5 is going to give us above the population of 6. So what we need to do is we need to borrow from that 5 6s in order to get a whole number on our left side. So what we want to see is how many more 6s this 4 6 needs to get to a whole number. Well, I know that it's 2 6s away from a whole number because 4 plus 2 equals 6. So I'm going to borrow 2 6s from this 5 6. So now that I have 3 and 4, 6 plus 2 6s, I'm able to add those together to get to our new mixed number. 3 and 4 6s plus 2 6s gives me the new answer, or new sum, of 3 and 6 6s. 3 and 6 6s is also the same as writing the whole number of 4 because I know that 6 6s equals a whole number of 1. So now that I have that new whole number of 4, I'm going to add it with the remainder of what we have from this 5 6s. Well, I took away 2 6s from 5 6s, so I have 3 6s left over. So what I want to add together now are 4 plus 3 6s. When I add those together, I receive the mixed number 4 and 3 6s, showing me that 3 and 4 6s plus 5 6s is equal to 4 and 3 6s. I hope these questions helped you with the math. You can always replay and rewind these videos if needed. And I hope you have a great time doing this lesson. Bye-bye.